matchup. GuMiho. Soon. Classic. herO. Round of 16. Group D.
Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 3.
Did you guys see GuMiho run up there?
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, he ran on stage, jumped on there. It's time, man. GuMiho versus herO is up next. The winner will get one of the 2 remaining spots in the round of 8.
Yeah, I'm excited for herO's chances here. You know, herO's been playing a very aggressive style of PBT lately, but I don't know if that's him maybe potentially hiding some of his builds for the GSL. You know, he's showing his hand in the online cups, making people respect the aggression, and then he comes into the GSL and he mixes it up and does something different. You know, there's a lot of mind games at play, but also GuMiho, we really haven't seen a lot of Cyclone usage in TVP. I think that's arguably the matchup where it is the weakest. Right now in the current meta, people haven't been able to figure out exactly how to use it besides some very niche cheeses, but if anyone's going to make it happen, it's going to be GuMiho. So a lot of interesting questions will be answered, I think, by this series in terms of where herO is at, if he's going to be able to regain his form going into the round of 8 and potentially make a run for a GSL championship, or GuMiho, now that Maru is out of the tournament with the new patch, the new maps, the new Cyclone, which he's fully embracing as we saw against Su. What is he going to bring to the table? Is this his time?
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Hey, you know, GuMiho, he does have a lot of different approaches in this matchup. I always feel like his TVZ was kind of the defining feature of his play overall. But, you know, herO is a very, very tricky guy. Both these guys, alternative approaches to the game. It should be a fun match. Let's get into it.
GuMiho. DKZ Gaming, herO.
Every time I cast one of herO's games, I always think back to GSL Super Tournament, where herO skateboarded to the studio.
We talked about this, yeah.
And won the Super Tournament and skateboarded home with a big check.
He's the
And
coolest
I'm like,
person
you're the coolest
alive.
person ever. Can you imagine skateboarding to an esports studio, winning the finals, and then skating home? I'm like, oh my God.
With his fat check.
With a fat check, yeah. So, it cracks me up.
herO's one of my favorite players, just period. Oh man, we have some. Okay, you're just checking where the core is gonna be. I was like,
yeah. So
GuMiho's going gas first. Here's gonna go 2 game. What is this meta?
So I want to explain what we just saw there, because I don't think we talk about this really ever, but
yeah,
it looked like he was gonna make a gateway, but what it actually he's doing is he's measuring the space with a cheaper building before the cybernetics core is affordable, to just make sure that the mouse is mapped over the location in the base. But yeah, every once in a while we'll have these ones where I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna do, oh no, never mind.
Oh, and actually herO's gonna allow this Zealot to complete, so it's a Zealot opening here for herO. I gotta say, on Alcyone, this is probably the best map to do a Zealot opening, because if you send it beelining across the map, you have these little vision blockers right by the Zealot Watchtower, which are 1 hex. So in a situation where GuMiho opens Reaper and he tries to take down the Zealot, you can see this little choke point right here. The Reaper can never truly kill the Zealot, so you're off to a great start. This Marine is dead, I'm pretty sure. It's going to have to take the widest turns imaginable.
This is intense. Look at this.
It's like a horror flick.
Yeah, I know. Now he's got. The thing is, he's got to get the keys out of his pocket to unlock the front door. That's the hard part. Okay.
He's the one that controls the depot.
Oh, he's gonna make it.
Yeah, I can't believe he's gonna make it.
Go! Wow.
Wow.
All
I thought he was dead to rights.
All right. This is a great thriller movie. This is a great Halloween season GSL. That he barely gets away.
SCV now running for its life. All these Terran units battered and bruised. Cyclone does come out a lot faster than usual, by the way. GuMiho did go for a gas first opening. with a Marine and herO. Are you going to do herO things and proxy something over here? He's going for an Oracle back at home, pumping out an Adept now. I think you do have to respect the Cyclone a little bit here in the early game against GuMiho, but this is a map with a gold base, and herO, of all the Protoss players in the world, does not shy away from taking gold bases. So after this 3-gate Stargate opening, there is a chance that we see some proxy shenanigans from him, whether it's going to be an expansion or a pylon with some aggression. We'll have to wait and see. Actually, 3 Adepts in total coming out from herO, so really an interesting shakeup in the build. But looking at this on paper, I gotta say, I don't think that GuMiho is really in any danger. The Cyclone is so good at shutting down this early aggression. I wonder how hard herO's actually going to commit it to this, because Cyclones, they pack a punch, man.
I feel like all this discovery we've had with Cyclones has been centered around TVZ, so I'm very interested in seeing what it's going to look like in this matchup. And, you know, keep in mind that when you're making Cyclones, you're not making Widow Mines or other stuff that is usually pretty essential in the matchup.
Yeah, I mean, GuMiho, or herO can play with complete confidence, seeing the Cyclone count, that there isn't a Widow Mine drop that's becoming cross-map. If he wants to get aggressive, he can really full commit to the aggression and not have anything back at home to defend. And actually going to be a charge opening here for herO as he takes his 3rd base. Oracle's coming in. We'll cast Revelation and get a good idea of exactly what the defensive setup is here for GuMiho, who is macroing up with kind of a 2-on-1. Just had these 2 barracks, the factory and the starport, although I think he teched up a little bit more quickly than that. And even the Vast Templar Archives here for herO. Now, coming into this series where we're talking about before the break, how much herO's been favoring kind of a max pack style of 4-gate Link aggression in this matchup off of 2 bases, but really going into a very different style to start things off against GuMiho. And I wonder how much of this is him just trying to play a slightly different metagame that he's showing in these online cups, which, I mean, herO, if you haven't been following the online cups, it feels like he's in the final of pretty much every T Open Cup that we have in Korea. Every single time we have a KSL Cup come through, it's usually a herO versus Dark Finals, which is always a ton of fun. But a relatively big shakeup with Charge coming in before Blink, with a ton of gateways going down. He's not taking the gold base. Instead, he's taking this 3rd base relatively quickly against Cyclones. And very fast Psystorm as well. This isn't a PvT style that I've seen herO play quite that often recently.
Yeah. So, honestly, a bit of a passive game. Now, we are going to see the Terran move out in a little bit here because, you know, at this point in time, it's either you expand or you have to start to attack. Psystorm with the upgrade, a little bit under halfway done, is going to be the most important thing to curb the progress of a 2-base push.
Love seeing High Templars just throw their little water balloons on these
Marines
and other things. But yeah, Storm going to be done here in a minute. No shield battery here, so a couple probes will go down. 2 in total. But I think for the setup that herO is going for, you know, the Raven really isn't that scary of a unit here. You're not going for, there's no interference matrix.
Dude, get
first
these
of all,
units out. It's stressing me out. Like, so much for your timing attack, man.
It's the traffic jam with you trying to take the bus over to the GSL studio today.
I was stuck on the bus for so long trying to get here today.
Oracles catching wind of this are going to try and get some counter damage in. He should be able to get this Widow Mine before he burrows, and yes, indeed, he will. Actually, some nice pickoffs here, and that's even going to force a couple of, well, not even a couple, GuMiho sending his entire army back for some reason to try and intercept this. Just the units stuck in the stasis, the only ones on the field.
You know, well, the 3rd command center has started, so, like, he's not going to try to end the game right now, but I do feel like the rhythm now for GuMiho, it does look a little bit off. Like, why were you about to push out, and then an Oracle flew through your base and killed some stuff off, and you didn't attack, and you made a very late 3rd command center?
Feedback on the Raven. Love to see it. No auto turrets getting dropped now, and herO has had all the time in the world. Should GuMiho have gone for that committed push? No, I doubt he would have been able to get any game-ending damage in, especially against a Protoss with Charge and with Psystorm. But you could have been able to leverage at least a little bit of pressure, but instead, we're watching a herO macro up completely. Medevac comes in. This Widow Mine drop is only going to be able to find 2 probe kills here in the natural, and the main base We'll see how much it's able to get done, but with herO's control and awareness, I'm imagining not too much. Yeah, we'll just be one more pro, but you know, herO is really firing on all cylinders right now, and he has 9 Templar on the field. And keep in mind, a lot of those Templar were warped in before Storm was even done. So they're starting to build a real bank of energy. And yeah, 2 of the highest energy Templar coming in, able to drop both Storms and feedbacks on these medevacs. So herO with just that Warp Prism and 2 Templar are able to deflect that attack on the 4th base. I'm loving this setup that he's going for. He's adding a second robotics facility now. He's building a Robo Bay. He's getting his forge upgrades. He's really filling out his tech. And in terms of harassment, GuMiho has been able to get basically nothing done.
Yeah, herO's going to come and fight back here and should be able to deny that 3rd base or at least force a liftoff. But there's a counterattack coming through here. And I mean, he's doing quite a bit of damage. I think smartly so, GuMiho decides to bail once he sees that he's forced the recall. But not all the units have been recalled. In fact, a good amount could try to intercept this move over here.
That herO's actually sharking on the map. Oh, that's a brilliant storm coming
so
through.
Good.
So much damage. GuMiho is just bleeding out army after army right now. It feels like every single trade herO is taking is a good one. And look at the minimap. GuMiho, he's taken the 3rd command center. It's still not an orbital. There still aren't SCVs mining here. herO's about to take and saturate his 4th base. I mean, in terms of macro play, this is just insane for herO. The feedback comes through. 3 Stalkers, enough damage to stop another Widowmine drop. And herO's basically playing a perfect game right now. Nothing has gone GuMiho's way.
Yeah, you know, I got to point this out. Sometimes I don't know if StarCraft 2 is influencing StarCraft 1 or StarCraft 1 is influencing StarCraft 2 because we've got ASL and GSL oftentimes going on at the same time. But in both the StarCrafts, this shuttle or warp prism filled up with Templars is so popular right now. It's basically just to roam, to make EMPs impossible. You drop it out, shoot the storm, pick it back up. And it's so strong against Terrans. This push is coming. Oh my God!
Shield your eyes. 13 SCVs going down to the storm drop and the follow-up zealots as they're going to mop the floor with those cyclones. But GuMiho is mounting a very big counterattack. There aren't actually defensive storms available here for herO, and I think recall might still be on cooldown. So a bit of a base trade situation could be in the cards, but no. Instead, herO, he's going to stay cool, come back to defend. He will lose this one Nexus, but GuMiho, he's got to be careful not to overstay his welcome. Oh, if he's able to snipe that before Blink. Okay, Blink does complete.
Yeah, very important upgrade at this moment. And look, I think that GuMiho did some decent damage.
Oh,
the question is, can these medevacs get out? Because the supply disparity is insane. It's 79 army supply to 116, which means herO has a pretty easy decision to make, and that's stay home or go across the map. He's going to move right on out. Now, the medevacs, I think some of them are parked. Yeah, they're over here above those trees. So, I mean, another drop could come in here, but the problem is that there might just be so much here from herO that he can basically topple this position.
Oh my God, the storms are so good. Feedback on the ghosts. Another storm follow-up, almost finishing off some of these ghosts. And yeah, GuMiho, he is dropping in the natural expansion of herO, but the army cannot be stopped. Even the warp-ins will be enough to deal with that at home. GuMiho taps out GG. And herO played such a cool macro PBT right there. I love the storm opening. I loved the Warp Prism speed before Thermal lands, even though he was making the Colossus transition. And we just saw value storm after value storm. His economic machine was never stopped. And that's about as textbook as a macro PBT could possibly get. He parried every single attack.
You know, it was a little weird from GuMiho. It looked like it was going to be this big 2-base timing. And he like moved, I don't know, a third of the way across the map, and then an Oracle flew through his base, and he threw down a command center. And I don't know, might be worth going back and looking at that again. I have more questions than answers. Seemed to be a little bit confusing. But anyways, herO's late game is just incredible. But here's the thing that's scary about herO. He doesn't have to go to late game. No. He can do some weird 2-base cheese. You know, he really does have the best micro. When it comes to these tactical engagements, he knows how to bend time and space and get in there and get the damage in. So GuMiho's going to have to be ready for anything and everything. And we're actually going to go into this game now, guys. Game 2. Let's go.
GuMiho. DKZ Gaming, herO.
I'm either going to look really smart or really stupid, but I'm calling a proxy Void Ray. That was a 13 pylon, 14 gateway. That's as fast as it gets for a gateway coming out. And some aggression is in the books. Go Stain and Tasteless. I love it. Come all the way from... I actually missed that.
I missed it too.
It's okay. We'll see after the show.
Micronesia. I can't believe we got a Micronesia here. That's great. Thank you for coming down.
But yeah, I'm expecting.
Now we just got to get somebody from Macronesia. We'll have all the countries. No, I'm sorry. We got another sign.
Whoa, there's so much happening. I love this. That's GuMiho on the Thomas the Tank engine.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Thomas the Tank is mech, so it makes sense.
All right, so there's a double probe coming out. I still think this is going to be a proxy Stargate coming in from herO, but we'll see. This pylon is not quite next to the Protoss or the Terran base, so this really could be anything. But I love that herO is sending 2 probes, one going into the main base of GuMiho, and GuMiho is going to think, okay, that's the probe that's on the map. But actually, there is a second probe, Tasteless.
And there's so much economic sacrifice here. So whenever you see a build where they cut a lot of probes, and in this case, there's 2 probes down on the map, one to make it look like this is actually a normal game. Excuse me. The other, obviously, to build the Stargate that's going to be put over here.
Oh, I feel so smart.
And so, it's actually crazy you called this so well.
I've watched so many herO games, man.
So, you know, if he can get in there and do the damage, he wins. But if Terran holds this, it's usually a pretty perilous mid-game for the Protoss.
The Reaper did not scout the Stargate, and I wonder if herO has some intelligence on GuMiho's scouting pattern, because normally you go for a proxy Stargate like this, you're going to build it into the triangle third of the Terran, but out of the vision if the Reaper is just rallied across the map. Instead, herO going for a position that doesn't have quite as good real estate value. Yeah. At the center of the map, it's going to be rallied in a little bit more slowly, but it doesn't get scouted. Notice on the minimap, GuMiho, he's checking everywhere except for this position. And now finally the Reaper, it's still not going to see it. It's still not going to see it. So some incredible game sense from herO. This isn't going to be a proxy Void Ray. It's going to be an Oracle, so this is more of a harassment and pressure tactic instead of an all-in tactic. herO expanding behind it. I love this build coming out in a best of 3, especially once you're already up 1-0. I mean, GuMiho, he has to be feeling so much pressure right now.
Well, the Reaper's going to come forward, and you'll see the Nexus is coming. And we're only moments away from this strategy actually activating here. Is he not making out of the Stargate?
He made the Oracle. It's done. Okay. I think it's about to head into the mineral line.
Okay, I see it now. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, these monitors are so small sometimes it's hard to see.
I was like, oh no, he forgot to use the building he hit.
He just revelates. I guess he didn't find an opportunity to get damage. There is a Widow Mine next to the refinery, so maybe herO is eagle eye enough to be able to spot that one out.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit caught off guard. I thought it was going to be Void Rain. I thought it was going to be a lot of real damage, but this seems kind of like a meh.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, but
it's going to be Stalker Blink after that. No third Nexus. We might have the 4th Gateway. This seems to be more popular in NA in Europe than it is in Korea.
But herO's really the first Protoss player in Korea that I have seen fully embrace the max packs. Ooh. Oh no. Okay, wow. That almost was disastrous there for herO, but he just has the quick enough reactions. And yeah, there's the 4th Gateway. You called it, Tasteless. Actually proxying it here with a Stargate, so everything kind of starting to converge over on this proxy location. And I'm watching the production tab. We don't have any workers in queue right now for herO, so I wonder if this is kind of a change in game plan where instead of going for a 4-gate blink with a warp prism, you instead have this proxy pylon on the map that the Oracle secures, and you're using the Oracle for the high ground vision to blink into the main base instead of the prism. And so you're kind of arriving at the blink all-in a very different way. But you think about the cost of a Robo and a Stargate and a warp prism and an Oracle, they're quite equivalent, right? So this should still pack about the same punch that a 4-gate prism all-in is going to come through. And so herO just going to take that shot there from the warp prism. Oh no, if you lose the Oracle here, he no longer can blink into the high ground unless he Adept Shades into the
like,
position that he's going
he
for
makes
right now.
Like a, I don't know, a sentry and tries to make a fake Phoenix, or I don't know.
I think he meant to cancel that shade.
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's very important that when you do attacks like this that you get the damage off right away, and sniping the tank is essential. So he's going to get cornered over here. Oh my god. And you know, it always feels like the blink cooldown is really fast, but you can actually see how slow it feels in a moment like that when you get cornered.
And in moments like this, I mean, that wasn't the best trade here for herO, but I mean, the Stalker Warpman, I don't think it's going to be enough. herO's going to have to transition out of this.
Yeah, I think he already is. He's making probes. He might try to just keep some Stalkers out on the map. He's going to make a Phoenix here to peek into the main.
Yeah, potentially lift up a siege tank as well.
He can blink on top of the tank. Yeah, that's the idea. If you keep killing the tanks over and over, then you can keep doing this rush. Stalkers, as you can see here, have better range than Marines, so they can dish out a little bit of extra damage. Stim has started. Another tank is going to siege up, so we should have another Stalker warping around, and potentially, oh, hold on, he's going to make Adepts instead. So I think he's going to blink in the main, shade the Adepts on the tank.
And he's taking the gold base behind this, too. Oh, some cool play coming out of herO. He's going to try and pick this one off. Now, herO cannot know whether that is Stim or combat shields, and 4 Adepts in the natural expansion should be able to get some damage done. These Stalkers in the main also right now prioritizing SCVs. That kind of shows herO's hand that he wants to play a little bit more of a macro game with this gold base. Should be able to get at least 2 of those Stalkers out here with a recall, and yes, indeed, but in total, 8 SCVs going down, so the worker counts, keep in mind, herO had a big probe cut to get this aggression off the ground. Now they've equalized, and soon herO, he's going to have that 3rd base. There is no 3rd command center coming in for GuMiho, but GuMiho, this clutch SCV, he scouts the gold base.
Yeah, this is huge, and this is a really uncomfortable moment because he sees the gold base being produced before it's even done. I mean, it's just, I think that GuMiho should, in any way, be able to win this game. I mean, this looks very doable. On paper, he's just in such a better spot than herO.
I mean, maybe if herO was able to snipe Stim instead of combat shields, he might have a chance.
Yeah.
But once the double medevac production really starts to kick in, I mean, we already have 2 medevacs on the map. Suddenly, Stim Marines are one of the most terrifying things a Stalker at this stage in the game can possibly see. They will absolutely chase you down. Now, herO, he's scrambling to try and defend. He's going for charge. 4 more gateways underway. He did recall, I believe, probes to that gold base. Now he's going to try and come in, and he's hoping again that this is Stim that he's canceling once more, but it's combat shields. It's not Stim. And so he's going to find as much damage as he can. But actually, no, look at the minimap. GuMiho, I think he came back home.
Well, this is the dream if the Terran does come back home, because you're just going to recall again here anyways. A drop comes in. There are some Stalkers warping in, but this drop is, I think, too small. With the Zealots here, yeah, there's just no way. There's enough damage that this medevac can't heal everything.
There is no recall available for those Stalkers. I'm not sure if it's the cooldown from the initial recall in the main base or if it's him recalling the probes into the gold base 3rd, but that's a very cost-efficient army trade now for GuMiho. 3rd command center going down. herO back at home, throwing down a Forge, so he wants to macro out of this, but the push is still very scary. Now, these Marines, they will get 4-shot as opposed to 5 or 6-shot with combat shields, so there is a bit more micro potential here for herO, but it's still a very scary moment. GuMiho at 53 armor supply, herO at only 36, but if he's able to stop the push coming out from Terran, and actually looking at the Terran army, yes, it is 55 army supply, but I don't think it kind of beats this Swarm Protoss style of Stalkers and Charge Zealots that herO's going for, and so this gold base might really start to pay dividends.
Yeah, you know, the supply in army earlier on was so different. Earlier on, it was 18 army supply for herO, and it was like 40-something there for GuMiho. But what herO's doing really well is he's just using the Stalkers to blink in over and over and basically keep the Terran off of ever being able to kill off this gold base. And so the gold base has been around for long enough. The benefits of having it have really kicked in, and economically, herO's in a pretty good spot. herO's actually taking a 4th base now as well. I think that herO can actually recover. In fact, he might have already recovered in this game.
Yeah, he's certainly starting to come back, but the scary moment for me is when GuMiho is able to macro out of these barracks and assemble a large enough army that the gateways might not be able to deal with it. And if GuMiho can find a timing before Psystorm is done, as herO is now throwing down a Templar Archives in the gold base of all locations. then there's a big window because these gateway armies, they can trade reasonably well with bio before the big upgrades come in for the bio and before the medevac count gets too high. But once GuMiho has amassed enough of an army on the ground, if Protoss doesn't have splash damage, the Zealots will just get kited to oblivion. The Stalkers are going to try to struggle to really get anything done. herO's going to have to really focus on getting Storm done as soon as he possibly can. And you can even see he's feeling kind of timid about that. He's going for an Archon before actually getting Storm because he feels like his army needs a little bit more bulk to deal with the army that GuMiho is assembling.
So this is going to be finally cleaned up, you know, as this is really now getting into late game PvT. Protoss, you know, I think they're going to be very comfortable. Any Protoss would be in this position. You're on 4 bases. You could probably get a 5th pretty easily at 6 o'clock, by the way. Psystorm's done. You've got your upgrades. It's very hard for the Terran to engage as the number of different types of splash damage available build up. So Disruptors, Colossi, Psystorm, things like that.
All right, this is a very important engagement here for herO with the charge zealots coming in. GuMiho doesn't quite have critical mass, so the Phoenix actually shooting out a good number of the medevacs, and there are so many charge zealots, Tasteless.
This is wild. But as he gets far enough in, he decides to back off.
I think the Widowmines especially really scared him away. Still only 1 Archon. And actually, I thought Psystorm was done too, but it's only just now begun. herO has really just been emphasizing the Archons instead, going for the swarm style. Look at that surround on the bio coming in from 2 sides. GuMiho, you got to think on paper, the bio ball with Widowmines, especially as they're starting to trickle in, will be enough to handle just a pure gateway army. But herO, off the macro of that gold base and by delaying the 3rd expansion of GuMiho, has just an overwhelming count of Zealots. I mean, we have more Zealots than Marines. And Zealots, they cost twice as much as Marines. That's a lot of Zealots right now, 27 in total. Kind of a crazy style we're seeing coming out of herO.
It's very cool. And I'm getting worried about, you know, for GuMiho's sake, you know, what exactly is he going to do? Because we've got another base coming up. The entire bottom of the map is under the control of herO. There's no easy points to attack because of the expansion direction that herO brought the game into. Counterattacks are still a threat. I mean, there's a sensor tower to try to help with that. Here we go. There's the Psystorm drops we were talking about. And, I mean, it's just a very difficult thing to deal with. When the Psystorms come out, it even punishes stim, right? If you're stimming and running in, a lot of times your army will just melt under the Psystorm. And so, what exactly does GuMiho do? I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's in a very, very difficult position, though.
I think he has to defend at this position, which is really not a position you want to be in as the Terran player in a mid-game against the Protoss. But herO, he has full map control right now. He has 4 high-energy Templar in a Prism. He's starting double Robo Colossus production very soon, and he's nearly maxed as well. I mean, the play that herO is demonstrating right now in PvT, keep in mind, this started with a relatively failed proxy war cult. Didn't get very much done at all. There was a Blink follow-up that did not trade particularly well, but herO was still somehow able to navigate his way into a position where he could secure the gold base with counterattacks. He could take map control away from the Terran, and then with this almost Zerg-like style of charge zealots, GuMiho, when he was in the phase of the game where he's trying to build, you know, really an unkillable mass of bio before Protoss can get AoE, he was getting whittled down. He was getting caught in the middle of the map by charge zealots from multiple angles. And now he's finding himself in a position where, yes, his army is finally able to go up against, oh no, the Templar, they get sniped. I think there's no more Storm on the ground. The other Templar gets EMP'd. Okay, this is suddenly a very dangerous position for herO.
The game has just been turned on its head.
You that snipe is
lose that War
huge.
Prism. That's crazy.
All right, so here right now he's scrambling. He's going for a counterattack at the triangle third of GuMiho, trying to buy some time, but the Robo and the Robo Bay, Thermal Lance is getting denied. Colossus production has been halved right now. There's only 1 Colossus on the map for herO. Has GuMiho just severed the head of the Protoss? I mean, losing Storm there is so huge.
Yeah, but the counterattack could be really effective. I mean, the truth is there's not that many locations that he's mining from, so if he can kill off a bunch of workers, it could work out pretty well. But I think the Terran Death Ball is just too strong. There's just no way to actually fight it. I mean, he's defending his main and also killing off Protoss here. Rarely do you see a game in late game where there's one mistake and, you know, where a player should have won, he then lost. But that's what happens when you lose that Warp Prism full of Templars.
That was such a 180. I almost have a whiplash from
crazy.
watching that game. If that Warp Prism stays alive, then herO is at the very least able to stall the attack. He had Thermal Lance almost finished. He had double Robo Colossus production in the cards. He had a shield battery that he could overcharge defensively back at home once the Colossus is done with range.
Yeah.
That's a great position to be in, but he loses the Warp Prism with a 4 high energy Templar. There might have been 8 storms in total there. In his army composition, with that one move, it basically got knocked back to the Stone Age because herO, he had no more Templar on the ground except that one Templar at the linear third base that instantly got EMP'd. And herO, he did an incredible job working his way into an absolutely winning position, but GuMiho, with the most critical catch, able to tie it up 1-1, and now we're going to Game 3.
All right, guys, Game 3 is loaded up. Let's get into it.
GuMiho. DKZ Gaming, herO.
Okay, so we've got an immediate probe scout out here. And, you know, when you do a scout like this, you're basically confirming there's not anything weird in the middle of the map. And you are sacrificing a little bit of economy, but a lot of times it can be worthwhile, especially against players that can be a little tricky like GuMiho. That last game, that was crazy. I mean, herO played so well despite his bungled aggression early on. The fact that he was able to keep that gold base alive for so long. His counterattacking was really good. It looked like he basically had all the building blocks in place to close that out with a win, but he fumbled the Warp Prism.
In the most critical time junction of the map, too. I mean, that was right before Thermal Lance was done. It was right before Double Colossus production had really kicked in. Think of all the resources invested into getting that high-tech AoE damage out onto the field. And until that point, he needs to rely on Storm. And I gotta be honest, I think it's a little bit of a misstep. Obviously, I mean, not talking about losing the Warp Prism. Of course, that's the blunder. But only having one more Templar, I think, at that base to be able to deflect. You need to have some Templar almost in like an Antigua Shipyard parting-esque style where you would just have Templars scattered across the entire map, all these bases, all these different angles. You got to invest a little bit of gas into doing that if you want to be able to have a little bit more stability, because otherwise you're hinging everything on the Warp Prism control and not losing it, because without that splash damage, you simply cannot fight that Terran army. And you know, in theory, if herO plays that out perfectly, or even if he just doesn't blunder the Warp Prism, it absolutely should be a win. His tech tree was almost completely finished out. He was ahead on macro, he was ahead on bases. His standing army with 4 high-energy Templar and a Warp Prism was so strong, but in one moment, it just got turned on its head. And I mean, you gotta be careful about that as Protoss, especially in PvT. It can be a very fragile matchup at times, where if you make one critical mistake like that, it will just completely hamstring you. And so it's crazy to think about the ramifications that one mistake might have on this series, because now instead of herO instantly setting himself, catapulting himself into the round of 8 with a 2-0 win over GuMiho, suddenly now it's all tied up 1-1, and anything can happen here in map 3.
Yeah, I'm going to be happy with whoever advances here, but kind of crazy. You know, you're talking about making like an excess of Templars and hiding them around the map. I feel like what herO's doing, and I'm going to use air quotes here, he's playing the right way, which is like you just need 4 Templars and don't lose the Warp Prism. But it is true, if you just had the Templars a little bit more spread out, you can always trade out the Storms a little bit more.
Especially with a nerf to EMP, it's a little bit harder for the Terran to actually be able to disable those Storms. Although GuMiho, credit to him, he was still able to EMP the last remaining Templar by that base. So, I mean, a little bit of a shake-up here in this series. I was fully anticipating, with the way that mid-game went, for herO to be walking to a 2-0 win. And Now here we are in game 3. GuMiho going for a Marine drop, not a Widowmine drop. herO once again opening with the Stargate, that Oracle. Able to spot the Cyclone. And in one of the changes for the patch, of course, that leash range on the Cyclone not nearly as long as it once was, so that Oracle able to escape almost entirely unscathed.
Now let's see what the Marine drop can do. The way the pylons are laid out, it looks like the drop is actually going to be on the pylons themselves instead of trying to go in the main where he might have been able to get more higher value targets.
I think it's smart too.
You know, Phoenixes, you got to be careful because Phoenixes can just chase you down. And I mean, now what? He's going to go inside the main. A third Phoenix is going to be out.
He's going to try and find any damage he can. I mean, GuMiho could not have known that it was a Phoenix follow-up behind the Oracle. So he just felt the need to try and get some scouting information, try and get some pressure done.
Yeah.
But herO going to be very happy to clean up basically full medevac of Marines very early for free. He lost, what, like a pylon and like some hull damage on a Phoenix?
Yeah, I mean,
almost nothing.
anytime someone, you get dropped and you just shut it down, it's like, okay, well, that's step one to winning.
Yeah.
There is going to be, it looks like a counterattack. I don't know how committed he's going to be on this, but let's not forget we just saw, you know, a really bad drop that didn't really do anything, and this looks like a commitment to me.
Yeah, Siege Tank is lifted up by the Phoenix as Adept focusing down the Marines on the ground. Now the Stalkers will be able to disable that Phoenix with a Graviton Beam, and that's a nice trade
that
for
was
herO.
Crazy.
I actually love that for herO. He, at the end of the day, what did he do? He traded out a handful of Adepts and some hull damage on his Phoenix and on his Stalkers to kill even more Marines and to reset the Siege Tank count of GuMiho. And let me tell you, if you're playing this kind of Phoenix style on the ground in PvT, one of the scariest possible things to deal with is a Siege Tank push with a healthy number of Marines to guard against the Phoenixes. And so to be able to continuously reset the Marine count and the Siege Tank count the way that herO did, you're starting to feel some momentum. But this drop in the main base, getting unscattered with the Phoenixes all the way across the map, GuMiho with a rare chance to get some counter damage in.
Yeah, the Phoenixes need to scuttle back home right now. There's also a push happening on the map. We're watching this drop now, but if you look at the middle of the mini-map, yeah, there it is. It's possible that you know, herO is thrown off balance here with this.
Phoenixes should be able to get that medevac, so only one left to heal, but as I said, these Marine Siege Tank pushes, they are very hard to deal with before charge is done.
Well, he has to decide, does he want to give this Nexus up or not? Combat Shields is 10 seconds out.
He's waiting for Zealot legs.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't want to take the engagement. He at least got some pro-production out of that Nexus, and if he's able to take a favorable engagement here with a couple of rounds of Zealot Warpins with charge finishing up, then, you know, I mean, you wipe this army and suddenly you have map control. Okay, here comes herO. I love the Guardian Shield being able to deflect most of the damage for these Marines as Zealots get traded out with Marines relatively efficiently there. Another Warpin is going to be needed. herO sent those 4 Stalkers cross map to be able to intercept any reinforcements coming in from GuMiho, and now GuMiho wants to retreat, but keep in mind, he lost one of those medevacs already. There are Phoenixes and Charge Zealots out on the map. And herO's going to try to really put the nail in the coffin here, catching up with this army, but instead, seems he's going straight for the third base. I thought he might be trying to surround this force, but oh, careful, herO.
Yeah, he's going to come up. I don't think there's enough to fight, but herO thinks otherwise. He's going to warp in more Zealots, which is always a telegraph that he's going to actually try to attack and dive in. The tanks are not picked up by the medevac because the medevac is shot down. So the Phoenixes do some great work over here, but at the end of the day, the Marines and the rest of the infantry just stay alive long enough to drive that back. And so it's going to be 3 bases, the third soon to be functional here for Terran versus a re-expanding 3-base herO.
Once again, though, I think these are really good trades for herO. He's trading Zealots for medevacs and for Siege Tanks, and a large part of PvT for playing against a 5 barrack style like this one is controlling the medevac count, because if the medevac count is in low number, then suddenly Charge Zealots and Stalkers and, you know, basically an upgraded Gateway Man style, you can begin to trade relatively well, because those stims, they really start to add up in terms of damage, and GuMiho in kind of a counterbalance style. Oftentimes we see the Terran trying to reset the high-tech units of the Protoss. This time it's herO with his Phoenix Zealot resetting the medevac count and the Siege Tank count here for GuMiho. So these bio units are going to be struggling to really get healed up for the foreseeable future, and herO once again be able to pick up another medevac. There's only 2 on the field. One of them gets killed.
Okay, but there's a big attack coming in here. And that Templar Archives is going to go down. It's such an essential building to have in this phase of the game. As we have another attack over into the main. The probes are pulled. I just don't think there's enough here for Protoss.
Keep in mind, though, only 1 medevac. This bio ball is getting dangerously low on HP. The final medevac does go down. There should be enough here for herO to clean it up. All those stalkers just barely missing out. The bio is so low on HP. 23 total probes going down. There was some counter damage there as herO was committing warpins with the Prism in the main base of GuMiho, but I gotta say, those warpins, they would have been better spent at home because now GuMiho's economy is miles ahead of herO's. herO's done a fantastic job of keeping the high-tech unit count in check, but GuMiho's economy, after canceling that 3rd Nexus and then going for that push where herO was forced to pull the probes, has really slowed down the Protoss machine. And I mean, the Templar Archives being planted at the 3rd base, that hurts so much. That's a very expensive building to try to replace now. And I mean, herO might just play a gateway style from here. I don't think you even try to rebuild the Templar Archives at this point with how poor he is.
This is a crazy game.
Crazy series.
Yeah, it's been so fun to cast. I think GuMiho should have the tools to navigate this to a win.
I believe so. I mean,
but let's see. I mean, one thing about herO is that it's never over till it's over. I mean, he's doing a great job with these Phoenixes. He's wiping out all of these medevacs, killing off Marauders and Marines as they come out. But GuMiho is not faltering. He is going to try to come through and bust this position. It's a very different composition. It is Immortals with Sentries here and some Zealots. So it's going to be more about dicing the army up or walling them away from escaping. And with really good control, you can win this as Protoss.
Yeah, I actually like the way that herO is navigating his army, because this is a very difficult position to play for Protoss, but he's doing it quite well. Trying to get more economic damage in right now with the Phoenixes. But mind, there is +2 armor right now for herO, so with Guardian Shield against a mostly Marine-based composition from GuMiho, if he gets good enough force fields that the Zealots are able to connect, he can get some damage done. And man, herO is playing such a micro-intensive style right now. He's got a healthy number of Sentries, but also he has Phoenixes. And now he's going into Disruptors, and I feel like this is kind of a misplay here from herO, sending these Zealots cross-map, as GuMiho's going to clean up 700 minerals plus of Zealots for free. And this is a very dangerous position. herO needs a big Disruptor hit. I don't know if he's going to get it.
Oh, man. Nice force fields. It's a start.
Force fields very good. Disruptor able to find a Ghost and a handful of other units. But is there going to be enough meat on the crowd here in this Protoss army? The army supply massively in favor of GuMiho right now. Keep in mind there is EMP on the table too. A Colossus is getting chrono boosted out of the natural expansion. But herO, his standing army, it's not that great. He might have to sack this base and wait for another Disruptor shot, because his standing army just does not hold a candle to the army that GuMiho has assembled.
So he's taking down the natural, but this does make the Terran cornered here. With the Phoenixes, you can't quite pick up as easily.
I think there might just be enough bio. That Disruptor shot was not good enough. The Phoenixes are getting whittled down. The Immortals are starting to fall, as are the Stalkers, and the army supply for GuMiho is getting so high. Another attack at the 3rd base, and I think GuMiho is going to the round of 8 tasteless.
This has been an insane series. The natural's gone. We don't see a GG yet here from herO, but it feels like it should be close.
He's going to fight it out. I mean,
yeah, well,
you cannot blame him. This is a
totally get it.
You win this one, you go to the round of 8. But GuMiho, he has everything in his favor right now. He killed the 2nd robo for herO. Colossus production is stunted. Even Thermal Lance right now isn't being researched because it got empowered by that pylon. herO's on a 2-base economy against a Terran on 3 bases, soon to be 4, with +3 infantry weapons underway.
All right, GuMiho just wants to try to close this out. He's going to push it again. Is there actually enough for the Protoss? The Colossus barely shimmies away.
Yeah, but the Immortal gets sniped, and that is so critical here against the Marauders. And these trades for GuMiho, they might not look that great, but the Phoenix count is really the only thing herO has going for him right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's crazy when you see Sentries tanking for a Colossus. There are still a couple Phoenixes left that can drive these medevacs away and make pickups impossible. By the way, it's not happening now, but for a little bit, like, GuMiho was so focused, his jaw was just open and his mouth was agape and his tongue was sticking in and out of his mouth.
He's doing
like,
the grubby, man.
Yeah.
It's like goldfishing or whatever you call it, yeah. Oh, he's been doing that a lot this series. He is dialed in as he stems forward. Marauder is able to pick off another Colossus. There is a Disruptor out. Will the connection come through? Gets 2 Marauders. herO's trying his darndest to stay in this game, but I think we have finally reached the breaking point with the Marauders stemming forward at low HP, able to take down the final Colossus.
That's it, GG.
Wow. What a series, and once again, my mind goes back to game number 2, where herO was able to navigate himself into a fantastic position, but in one fell swoop, GuMiho sniping the full Warp Prism, turned the game on its head, and turned the series on its head, is now GuMiho is going to be the first player advancing from Group D into the round of 8. What a fun and exciting series.
You love to see it. And guess what? We get more herO now.
Yeah.
More herO games. So, we're going to have an interview now with GuMiho. We'll see how he is feeling. He's going to the round of 8, leaving just 1 spot remaining with the 3 players left here in Group D. Congratulations, GuMiho. Thank you.
고생 많이 하셨어요. 정말 쉽지 않은 싸움이었죠 오늘. 아니 경기마다 이제 풀꽉 가면서
That was a crazy series you played. One wild game after another. All your games went to a full set. How do you feel? I put a lot of prep in for today's games. But
특히 지금 마지막 싸움에서도 서로 그 심리전뿐만 아니라 컨트롤 싸움.
I think he says he was sweating too much, which messed with his hands.
Oh yeah, you caught that. Yeah, that's good.
After the patch, we've seen a lot of different gameplay. What are your thoughts on the patch? And I don't think it really affected the balance. And since we didn't have many matches after the patch, I think we need some more time to see where the game is at and see if what changes. You know, and he's asked that maybe that's why some of the Terrans got eliminated earlier. I think referring to Morrow. So let's talk about your match against herO. You were ahead for a little bit, but did you not notice? And he says, no, I knew I was ahead. I knew I had a big advantage. herO's usually doing some very sneaky plays. It's very difficult to deal with him. So like I said, I had just a lot of different thoughts going on in my mind. Is there any particular play from herO that you were worried about or aware about ahead of time? Well, looking back at those games, I lost my army too easily in some of those games. herO is just a very good harass-based player, so it's hard for me to get my mind where it needed to be to come out on top. What are your goals for this season? Well, always my goal is to win. I go to every tournament planning to win. And that's true for the season as well. I didn't have that many opportunities to show my mech play. In the past, I've been eliminated. Oh, also I want to say thanks to everybody who helped me practice. I think this mentioned Nightmare and Ragnarok and that. Well, congratulations. He says thank you. That's it.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised that he didn't get too many questions about the Cyclones. I really want to hear what he thinks about that new unit, the way that it's been reworked. I mean, he was able to play it quite well in game number 1 against Su today, but yeah, not too much in there in TVP. Still, fun to see.
We've got Su versus Classic coming up next. That should be an interesting one. And then herO's going to play the winner of that. So it's going to be great matches all night tonight.
Yeah, man. That was a crazy series.
It was wild.
I still feel like I have whiplash from game number 2.
Well, just I mean, the fact that it was so over until the one Templar-filled War Prism was shot down.
Yeah, that was a crazy position
That
that
was
hero had to work
the
himself
StarCraft
in.
equivalent of like the weakness in the Death Star, where you fire like one beam in there and it blows up the whole ship.
Yeah.
Guys, that's all the time we have. We're going to be back after the short break. Don't go away.